So some of you have been asking about, no one's been asking. Sorry, it's been so long. I've just been busy teaching, getting back into school and enjoying the time with the students. So what we're going to talk about today is lossy and lossless compression. So this is the idea when you get that really annoying message that says that your video or your image is too large for this email, or when you're trying to upload something onto a Dropbox and it's like no. So today we are going to talk about how to be able to compress these using lossy and lossless compression. And I'll also share with you an easy way to be able to remember the differences between lossy and lossless. Great hack coming up. So let's set the scene. I'm working at my laptop, I'm working on a video and I'm putting it all together. I'm working throughout the night, editing, I got my coffee and I'm all sorted, and it takes forever to make videos. So it takes such a long time. You're working for hours and hours and hours. And finally, you are done. Video is complete. It's all sorted. Then I'm like, I might send it to someone just to kind of see what they're thinking, get a second opinion, try and make sure that I'm not boring everyone. So I open my trusty email, compose a new message. I then type in my friend's email address, and I'm looking for my video. I want to upload it onto the email. So I'm looking, trying to find it. Found it. So I'm going to upload. And then, oh my goodness, it does not upload. It says that the file is far too big to be attached to this email. Now, if you know me in real life, you know my eyes can actually go that big. Ha. Okay, back to the story. So I'm trying to upload my video and it turns out that the file is far too big. So I am in absolute rage right now. Okay, now in real life, obviously, I wouldn't actually be that angry about it, but stick with me here. It's just for the story. So here I am, angry. I have had enough. Now, I know, obviously, I can just use Google Drive, put the link in, blah, 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 send it off and I'll be done. I know that, but let's pretend that that's not there. Ignore that. I'm too sleep deprived to see a solution here. So what do I do? Well, welcome to the world of compression. So to compress something is to make it smaller. So like to pressurize it to make it smaller, or to squeeze it to make it smaller. In essence, if we just think about it in something that's really big, we're going to make it really small. In my sleep deprived coffee state, I couldn't think of what can be really big and I squeeze it to make it really, really small. Other than like Play-Doh, maybe? I'm not sure. But anyway, you get the idea. So in the digital world, what are the things that can be compressed? Videos, images, sounds, and documents. These are just some examples of what can be compressed and what you'd need to know for your iGCSE. Now, there are two different types of compression that you need to focus on. So firstly, we will look at lossy compression. Now, lossy compression is used to compress videos, sounds, and images. And then the other type of compression, which is called lossless compression, is to compress documents. Now, if you're one of my students in real life, you've definitely heard me say this before. And the reason why I love teaching this subject is because all the words in computer science all have been derived from our normal everyday life. Which also means that whenever you come across a new word in computer science, you've just got to break the word down and try and relate it to something that you know in real life. And then you'll be able to work out what it means. That's a great exam hack, by the way. If you come across a word that you don't know, you'll have a much better chance of guessing what it means by breaking the word apart and relating it to everyday life. Also, using lexonic, so being able to use or understand different prefixes and suffixes will be able to help you to work out what each word means. So we can use this approach for lossy and lossless. Lossy has the suffix y or e, lossy, and lossless has the suffix less, lossless. Now, both of these suffixes are related to what the word means. So let's look at lossy. Lossy, the E at the end actually means to be inclined to do something or to be characterized to do something, and that something is the word that's before. So in this case, the word loss would then mean that be inclined to lose something. Whereas on lossless, the suffix less means to do without. So in this case, this is without any data loss. So let's put it together. So lossy compression means that you can lose data in the process, and lossless compression means that there's no loss of data at all. And you can remember that due to the suffixes that are at the end of the words. So now that we know that, we can work out that using lossy compression means that we will lose data in videos, sounds, and images. Usually not enough to actually notice, because it's actually quite subtle, and you would probably only need to do it one time in order to be able to send something. But if you continuously compress an image, for example, it starts to become very pixelated. But then, however, when we use lossless compression in a document, we wouldn't lose any data at all. You wouldn't suddenly lose a page. So how does lossy compression work? Well, there are a range of different methods, and we'll go through a couple of them because these are ones you may be asked in the exam. So you can use fewer and larger pixels, but if you do it too much, then you'll end up with a very pixelated image like this one. You can also use fewer bytes to store the color code, but that would also mean that you would start to lose depth in color. And lastly, you could remove repetition. So repetition is basically the idea of using indexing. So for example, your image may include a large group of pixels that are all the same color. Now, if each pixel is stored separately, that would create quite a large file size. But if you compress the image, then the color is only stored once, with a number to say how often that color is repeated. So therefore, you only store the color once. So it uses an indexing system, which means it can call upon that store every time it needs to use that color. This is also very similar to lossless compression, which I'll talk about in a moment. Here are some compressed image formats. I'm pretty sure that you've seen a lot of these or worked with a lot of these before. Okay, so now compressing data. How does compressing data work? How does lossless compression data work? So remember that we are compressing documents. So this is compressing data within the documents. So these are just, think about like normal Word files even. So this is just the same method before as with how Lossy does, where it uses indexing. So the idea is that your data is stored as different binary codes. So if what the computer does, it manages to recognize where are the repetitions or the repetitions of data. And instead of having each part stored separately, they find a pattern, they store it once, and then when that word or when that piece of data needs to reappear again, then it can just be called upon. So it can just be indexed, and they use that store instead of having to store everything separately. Now, I know actually in media, we are able to use lossy and lossless compression to be able to compress videos and images and whatnot. But this is just in terms of for your iGCSE and the direction that you need to go in terms of your answers to be able to maximize your marks. But generally, an image can actually use both. But for your GCSE, we can just keep those two separate just to understand the concept. So those are the differences between lossy and lossless compression. Really, really useful for exams because they do tend to come up quite often. And a great exam hack to be able to work out words that you've never heard before. Okay, so that's the end of my video. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe.